Well, here we are. We are Team CP podcast number 54 featuring Josh Komen, Rhys Whitehead, and Cushla Holdaway. Tonight's show is very proudly brought to you by True Fleece Merino and Team CP, your endurance coaching specialist. Richard, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Kim. I'm good, thanks. Hey, you're normally our strength coach comments from the bench, but tonight you've been thrust into the starting lineup in the hot seat. How about that? So the American with all the chat, Team CP, leading from the front. How does it feel?
You know, I knew you were looking for a producer, and I thought, why not take that next step up? Go from strength coach to producer. I might just go straight to Hollywood after this. Just
yeah. Well, that's kind of the next step with the Team CP media team. It does happen pretty quickly in a hurry, so just be careful what you wish for there.
Fair enough, too. Yeah, bring it on, I say.
And how have you been getting on lately?
Yeah, school starts back tomorrow. If I could do a little happy dance without being a little over the top, I would. That's good. Let the professionals do what they're good at. So, yeah, teaching is great. I've really enjoyed the lockdown this time. So, just a bit of rest, catching up with some of the athletes via Zoom has been fantastic. Getting some training in myself. How about you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, going good actually. Yep. No. Again, bunch of Zwift stuff with our guys online, which has been really cool. And just enjoying the fact that it's starting to turn into springtime. Although it was snowing here. Actually, proper snow on the ground in Kauai. What about that today? So that was a bit funny. And then the sun was out later on this afternoon and actually got a little bit hot. It's pretty cool. It's nice to start sort of seeing the fact that spring's on its way and summer's must be just around the corner somewhere after that, eh?
Totally. Yeah, I came in from town. It was kind of sunny and then kind of hit West Melton, a little bit of drizzle, and then Kauai, bam, and the snow is here. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. We've got a big show tonight, but a couple of quick notices before we get underway. We've got the great Team CP bake-off that's happened across lockdown. Cushla Jackson, you announced her as Cushla Holdaway. She's since been married, Kim.
That's right.
You did go to a meeting.
Her professional name.
Yes. So she has been doing a bunch of judging for us, and she has come up with all sorts of winners. We are just going to hold off on who those winners are and let you know via our social media channels in the next couple of days. We're going to, instead of me announcing everybody right now, we're going to sort of announce those. We've got a whole bunch of different categories that Kush has come up with, and some very, very impressive efforts, and it's been awesome to be watching that. And I think word is on the street, we're going to try and put a bit of a Team CP cookbook together as well, which will be good, bringing some of those fantastic creations together. Other thing that's happening is we've got our Coast to Coast Skills Day. We weren't sure whether this was going to happen or not, but it's with lockdown and things, but it's all systems go. It's next Thursday and Friday. There's still about 4 or 5 spaces available. We're going to do a session on the river at Gorge Bridge and a bunch of rock running stuff, and then we're going to do some riding, bikes, and trail running and all that sort of stuff as well. So Thursday, Friday next week out at Gorge Bridge, and then based out at Horsell Quarry. So it's going to be heaps of fun. So jump along if you're able to get to see that, if you're a coast to coaster, especially if you're the first time. Other things is our summer group sessions are due to kick off when daylight savings rolls around at the end of September. So keep an eye out for those. And our Thursday run group is finally back after a few weeks break after lockdown. Make sure you bring those masks. We won't be running in them, but we'll do the social distancing and make sure everyone stays safe, etc. But let's crack on with the show. We've got a big one tonight. It's going to be good.
Yes, it's very exciting. Josh Komen, he's going to come in and we're going to hang out with him for the next kind of 40 minutes or so. So Josh.
That's right. So just introducing Josh. So Josh is a fantastic New Zealander. So just to have a bit of a background of him, someone who had dreams of representing New Zealand at the highest level. So he was at the top end of the New Zealand running scene, and the 800-meter track was his sort of go-to event. And he had the talent and the work ethic to actually do it as well. Unfortunately, his dream was stolen away from him when he was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia at the age of 23. So pretty keen to share Josh's story, 10-year journey as he battled through that relapses, etc. of that, and regaining his health through those many setbacks, and he's got a pretty fantastic story to tell. We're going to chat to him. We're also going to chat to Rhys Whitehead from Greymouth. He's lined up for his first coast-to-coast longest day, and finished with a bit of a spring in his step, and he's turning up to have another crack. He also runs with Josh in his run group on a Wednesday night, which is pretty cool. So have a chat to Josh. Rhys as well. And then we're going to finish up the show with Cushla Jackson, who we've spoken about a couple of times already, about optimizing your pre-event meal. So some key guidelines and a couple of go-to pre-event options to make sure that we both feel good at the start line and also have the energy to burn to actually perform to our potential. How about that?
Well, it sounds delicious and highly entertaining. So I reckon we bring Josh on.
Yep, good. Can you push the buttons there, Kim?
I can. There you are.
How good. Hey, how you getting on, Josh?
I'm great. Thanks, Rich. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Hey, thanks for joining us. Just wanted to kick off the show about sort of how are you now? How's Josh at the moment? How's the health?
Yeah, I'm amazing, Rich.
Yeah.
From who I was 10 years ago, 11 years ago when I was first diagnosed to me now, I have to pinch myself sometimes to really notice how good of a position I am in life right now. So, mate, I'm fantastic. I'm feeling great. And as we chatted the other day, I was up on the top of the hill cutting up some firewood, which I didn't think would happen, and after so much time in hospital, mate. So
yeah, I was pretty excited to hear that and you were describing the sunset on a Friday, sort of later on in the evening, looking out across the at the Tasman Sea.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. I was up on Cape Terrace. I missed your phone call, then I rang you back, and I was just looking out at the sunset over the coast. West Coast sunsets, the best coast sunsets, fantastic. So no, really awesome just to be doing this stuff again and using the body again instead of being on hospital bed, mate.
Yeah, good on you. When was how long ago since you were in hospital? When was the last visit there?
Last visit would have been roughly about 18, 20 months ago when I was in Melbourne.
Okay,
when I was, over in Melbourne. So my treatment in Melbourne's finished now, and that was probably about that was it's finished officially April this year. So
yeah. Actually, I've got you there. This book, your book, The Wind at My Back. Rhys Whitehead, to a coach who we're going to talk to, basically said that he bought the book during the first lockdown and basically read from cover to cover without stopping. And I was like, I need to hear a bit more about this. So did the same, and here you are. So you're pretty keen to have a bit of a chat and share your journey and share your learnings, etc. So could you kick off by giving us a bit of background? How did you get into your running initially, and what were your goals in your early 20s? Let's jump back a bit.
You're right. I mean, I was always a talented sportsman at school, and I loved playing sport. Every sport I could play, I just loved it and embraced it. Rugby league, basketball were my two favorite sports, and I played a lot of rugby, a bit of squash and stuff. But I got into running, won a lot of primary school cross countries, and athletic events and things like that. So it was something that was there, but I wasn't big enough to handle the rugby boys and that, but I could keep up with them, but running just seemed to be my forte. So, at 12, 13 years old, I was doing these 5K series here and doing little runs around the show and winning the West Coast cross countries and things like that. And soon enough, I was getting help from a guy called Danny Spark here. He was a bit of a local legend down at that athletics track, and he was kind of just helping out with a bit of speed work and stuff and incorporating that, but it was never structured. I didn't really have that structured training. And it wasn't until I kind of got a bit older, about 16 or 17, where I asked Dave McKenzie, the former 1967 Boston Marathon winner, to coach me. And I knew that was a big step for me. If asking a man on such a high pedestal to help me out, I couldn't let him down. So I had to commit myself to running. I was still playing a bit of sport then too, back and forth. But Dave sorted me out a solid program, and then a guy called Jack O'Connor moved over here from the coast. He was a former New Zealand hurdle champ, and he really started to incorporate the speed work and my training that Dave was putting in me. So we were working off that, and I went over to the Canterbury Champs. I think I was 17 years old, and this is when I was finally getting some really good training going on, some structured training. And I went over there and I won the 5K, the 3K, the 1500. And I think I got third in the 800 at that time. And I was just blown away. I thought, holy heck, this is probably a sport I could pursue and do quite well in. So kind of went from there. And that 16-year-old boy, that was a catalyst into my pursuing my running career.
Yeah, brilliant. And your sort of training kind of carried on from that. It was sort of while you were working, you would run home, sort of thing, from work, etc., and working pretty hard, and you were fit as a fiddle, and then were due to go overseas. Tell us about that part of the journey.
Yeah, so 16, and then I left school at 16, 17. I became a line mechanic, and it was a very physical job, and I was committed to my training too. So, I was working 10, 12-hour days, and then coming home and training, doing, 15, 20K runs, and then going out and getting a load of firewood and things like that. So I was physically strong, and I was just go, go, go. There was a next door neighbour who used to live next to me. He was Glenn Gibb. Gibby was a coal miner. He was the I can do everything man, and he's ran everywhere, all over Goat Pass and around Arthur's Pass and everything. He was just out there in the bush, and he'd come over to my house and go, "Come on, mate, we're going for a run." And so I was running with that. I was fully into it, working hard, doing all that. And what was the former question?
Oh, I was just sort of like, tell us about, like, you were about to go overseas, weren't you, when you heard about the diagnosis?
Yeah. So my diagnosis from that, I was I was going downhill. If we can put it into perspective, basically I was on top of my game, of my running, of my health, and everything like that. I had 2 silver medals in the 800 meters, and my body was just deteriorating. And I was actually in Hagley Park. I was running with a good friend, Andrew Davidson, and I just tore my ankle on nothing, and my body just started deteriorating from that. So I thought I'm going to give running a miss, and I'm going to head overseas for a couple of months, have an OE, come back and give running a go again. But as I was about 2 days from flying out, and I got called into hospital, my eye swelled up, collapsed and everything like that. The next day I got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia from there. So, yeah.
That's a pretty tough time, eh? For yourself, for your family, in terms of trying to figure out what the heck's going on here, what am I doing, what can I do, etc. How did you deal with that?
I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. All I knew was running and work, and that's all I kind of knew. I didn't understand cancer. I really didn't. Had no idea. I didn't think I'd end up in this position. Didn't know that I had a poor diagnosis. I just didn't know what to do. I was so confused. There was nothing but tears around me. My mum was crying. My father, he was upset, and my whole family was distraught. And I thought I was putting so much pain on them. How I handled it wasn't very good at all. I didn't know how to. So that first kind of 3 to 4 months of chemotherapy, my body was just stripped away. I've never experienced. I have after that, but from that previous time, from my running, I've never experienced such pain and torment. But the worst of all was the torment that was going through my head. That was the worst of all. I've never ever abused myself like that. I was always had goals and set myself ambitions and everything like that. I wanted to represent New Zealand. I know I could have. I knew I could have won that New Zealand title that year. I knew that, and it's all been taken away. And here I was fighting this cancer. And I didn't even understand what acute myeloid leukemia was. Had no idea. And then all of a sudden, I'm telling myself I'm weak, I'm pathetic, you're nothing but a loser, you're doing this to your family, just, what the heck are you doing? It was just constant abuse to myself. And I had no idea how to handle that. And my way out from that was one night after about 4 months of treatment. Are we there? We all right?
Yep.
Yeah. And one night I decided I'm just going to take my life because I couldn't understand the torment and that I was putting upon myself. So I went to a balcony and thought I'd jump off this. This would be the way to end it. This is me taking control. And in that moment, I felt some wind on my face on the balcony. I turned around and I saw my mum's cup of tea, and I felt her love come into my heart, and I pulled away and I just cried hysterically. And I thought, I've got to get some real help now. And this was using my strength, to ask for help. So I had to ask for help, got a counsellor on board. Canteen was amazing. And I sat down and had a chat to them and basically acquired some tools to help me go forward with the situation I was in. Yeah.
And it's a big turning point. And as I showed before, your book is called The Wind at My Back, and you refer to the wind quite a lot. And that was a big part, like that was one reference to that, eh?
Yeah, that's one reference. But the wind itself really represents the people that were behind me, pushing me along the way through my whole 10-year journey. But also too, when I was in that time after that suicide kind of attempt, when I pulled back and got counselling, I was in my stomach lining had stripped away. I was skinny and weak and pathetic, and I was finally allowed out of my isolation room. And so the listeners can understand, it was 1 month in isolation, and then that was chemo, and it was chemo on my central nervous system, intravenous chemo for a month, and then I'll be out for a week and then back in for a month, out for a week and for a month. So in about the 5th month, the orderly took me out. I got very sick and I had to go over to the outpatients unit. So I was allowed outside for a bit, and I was wrapped up to the walls because this was in winter as well. And I told a bit of a lie to the orderly. Can you take me outside? And he said, no, I can't do that due to my health and my immunocompromised position. And I said, take me out, mate, I'm going to die, which wasn't the exact truth, but there was a good chance that I would. But he took me out, and I just felt this huge gush of fresh wind on my face, and it was just brought me back to that solace where I could feel myself running again and being with my friends and family and outside cutting wood and back to work again. You know, I really felt myself within the wind. Yeah.
And that gave you a drive to carry on in terms of your treatment as well, eh?
Yeah, it just gave me the perspective that if I continue through this, I can get back what I've gained before. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you did get back. You did beat that, and it did go into remission.
Yeah, after 9 months, I went into remission. It was an arduous journey, but I got back in, and thank goodness for my running background. You know, I managed to recover a lot quicker than most. So I was very fortunate to having that background. But still, so I was tormented by not achieving that New Zealand title that year and not being representing New Zealand and things like that. I still wanted to get back there and do that, but I wasn't quite there. I'd experienced all the stuff in 9 months, but I still didn't know really how to talk to about it with my friends. I had a good friend, Ruth Croft and Hamish Patterson, who were really foundational friends where I could kind of express my things, but I really distanced myself from people in the community and people who I associated myself with. No way they could understand what I've been through. So I just spent a lot of time in the surf and the Cobden surf, just contemplating on what went on and understanding that life had changed so dramatically for me, and understanding the fact that I nearly took my life for the thoughts that were bounding in my head, and I just was really caught up with that, and I had to do something for myself. I knew that life was short. There was a good chance this cancer would come back, and I got a phone call from a friend while I was out in the surf, and he asked me to go to Nepal to go to Everest Base Camp, and I said to him, no way, mate, I can't go there. I've just got out of chemo, out of cancer for the past 8-9 months. And one day I was out there and I just said, bloody hell, I'm going, I've got to do it. And it just hit me, and I rang him up. I said, yeah, mate, let's go. So 5 months after my last round of chemo, I landed in Kathmandu, Nepal, to climb up to Mount Everest. And that was a perspective that really changed my life, Rich. It was so humbling. I got off the airplane and I got this tuk-tuk, and I was going to the backpackers where I was staying, and I just saw these young kids with bare feet and rags, and they were playing in rubbish, hanging out with these beautiful smiles. And to me, it really put my life into perspective how lucky I was to suffer in such good conditions, to have my mum there, have my family there, have a bed, and have adequate treatment to help me get through this very serious disease. So it really changed my view of how lucky I was instead of why me, So I went to Everest Base Camp, climbed up there, and it was just an incredible experience to be able to achieve that and fulfill a childhood dream, and watch the sunrise on Mount Kalapata. It was truly something special. And these things I call special perfect moments that happen within your life that really sustain us through that hardship. And that's one collective moment that I can take with me. So when I get into a rut or anything like that, that's something that I've accumulated that's mine. It might be some of your runners that achieve a coast-to-coast event or something. You've stood on your own 2 feet by yourself and overcome the hardship, and I've captured that. And when I go into that dark place, if I got cancer again, I've got something to draw from. So that was something for me very, very special to be able to achieve that from a hospital bed 5 months later, to be up at 19,000 feet watching the sun over Mount Everest. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Did you, following your chemo, did you basically, was your running goal finished? Was that done in your head, or was it still, there's a chance here?
No, there was a chance. I read a lot of books and I heard a lot of stories. And Lance Armstrong, to be fair, what's happened now, he really inspired me. He got back on the bike for sure. I found out later, this was later on, what he did. But I read his books, and if he could do it, I could do it. And I'm not taking that away from him. He still got on the bike from what he went through, and it's bloody tough. But I thought, I'm going to come back from my traveling. I became a professional skydiver and enrolled in skydiving, and I started training again. I rang up my previous mentor who was in Christchurch, Don Gregg, and he started writing me out a bit of a program. And I was skydiving in Methven, so I'd drive into Christchurch and I'd do a few workouts with him on the sly. I wasn't really training with people too much, but my goal was to get back there, and I was going quite well during that skydiving period. So I had basically a year in remission. I got back from Nepal and backpacking 3 months, and then I was skydiving for about 6 months and training again. And I was getting down to roughly about a 9-minute 33K after 2 or 3 months of training. I was just blown away. I really thought, holy heck, this cancer's really done something to me. It's changed my homeostasis. I've become a super freak, No wonder Lance Armstrong got back on the bike and did so well, but we found out later what was really going on. But so that was to be short-lived, my skydiving and running again. When I got diagnosed with cancer again, I was jumping out of an aeroplane with my friend at 18,000 feet, and I got hypoxic, and I had low blood cells, low blood oxygen levels going into my hemoglobin. And, I was seeing 10 of them instead of 1. And I got down to the ground and I knew something was wrong. I looked at my hand and I had these purple dots, which meant I had low platelets. So I knew in my heart that I'd relapsed. And so I finished off jumping and I went into the doctor and I got my diagnosis again.
That's tough, eh? That's super tough, especially because you've already been through it once, and to go into that again, knowing what you had gone through, and you don't know where things are going to go, and if you're going to come out the other side, and if you're going to be okay, and what's going to happen to your mum and your family, etc.
Yeah, no, this time it was very, very serious. I've got to get out of jail card free. This time I'd have to have an allogenic stem cell transplant, which basically meant my hemopoietic stem cells that generate our immune system, the tiny cells that live in the bone marrow, was going to get donated from me, a young girl in Germany, to me. So it was a life-threatening procedure. I acquired this thing called graft-versus-host disease. And I'd also go through this high-toxic chemotherapy, full-body radiation, and a treatment that was just horrific. It was really horrific. But I was mentally prepared this time, Rich, but I wasn't physically prepared. I thought I'd enjoyed a lot through the first time, but this second time was just a next level. And I didn't understand the physicality of this brutal treatment that I was going through. I had a loving, supporting family. I had a true perspective. I became a skydiver. I went to base camp and I tried my hardest with my running, and I'd accepted that my fatality if I did die, but I was going to try my utmost best to get through what I was going through. So went back into Christchurch Hospital, the bone marrow unit, and I had 2 rounds of treatment, which were horrendous. On the second round, I picked up an infection that put me up into the intensive care unit. Was put on life support for 10 days, and they told my mum and dad there was a high chance I probably won't wake up. I was probably going to die, but thank God I did wake up after 10 days. And this is the thing, this was the hardest part, and I need to describe this properly. I got off life support and I was 52 kg, and the normal procedure before you have a transplant, you have 2 months off before you have your transplant, 2 months off prior to your last round of chemo. You have 2 months off at home, go home, have your transplant, come back, because the transplant is horrible. The treatment prior to it is horrendous. I was 52 kg getting off life support, and I had 2 weeks to get ready for a bone marrow transplant. And I could not walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything, but I just sat myself outside. If anyone runs by the boat shed, there's a green seat over there. I used to sit by there because I used to live over Ranui House, and I'd sit there and just reflect the sun in my eyes. And this is a big tool that I have. I do a lot of visualization, and I just visualize myself getting through this transplant. And I just sat there for hours and hours, trying to visualize myself strong and healthy. My brother would wheelchair me over there, lift me out. I still couldn't talk from the tube down my throat. But soon enough, the transplant came around, and the treatment to that was having high dose chemotherapy combined with full body radiation to basically deteriorate. It's like ultimate roundup on my bone marrow, so my immune system wouldn't grow back. Then get these hemopoietic stem cells from this young girl in Germany to regenerate my new immune system.
New immune system, so it wasn't going to attack itself and get rid of basically the leukemia once and for all, hoping that it wasn't going to attack your own cells, your body.
Yeah, well, that was the
plan.
Yeah, so basically my new cells were pulling out immature white blood cells, so they wouldn't produce into full, and start accumulating and get out of control. So this new hemopoietic stem cells would basically create a new immune system, a new garden essentially. But in this process too, we have this thing called a HLA protein within our cell called a human leukocyte antigen, and it was a bit of a mismatch there, which creates this thing called graft versus host disease. Now this bit of a deadly disease, so basically it's graft rejection. So the transplant itself, the cells that were coming was attacking my body, and during that kind of 3-month period, I was in the semi-comatose state where I was just shitting myself, spewing up. It was just horrendous. But the cool thing was I had this beautiful window looking outside to Hagley Park, and I used to watch the boys run past, all my mates, Brett Singay, Malcolm Hicks, Andrew Davidson and all those fellas, Matty Smith, Matty Harris and all that, run past. And, you know, it really put a smile on my face. And I thought, you know, those boys are out there doing it. Maybe I could get out there too. And I used to visualize myself running with them again and stuff like that. But another special moment in that 3-month period when I was in that kind of semi-comatose state, my mum would come in with sparkling water. I couldn't eat or swallow my food because I had this GVHD, the graft rejection in my stomach. So she'd come in with sparkling water, and these little fizzy, the carbonic sparkling water would pop and fizzle in my mouth. And it just gave me so much pleasure, Rich. It was better than running itself, mate. It was just these simple little things that was just really sustaining me through that hard time. Yeah,
good job. You got through it though, eh?
Got through it, mate. Yep. Thank goodness. Got through that, and it was just basically a year in Christchurch at Rānui House, and I had many complications, and would be here for 2 days talking about it, mate. But it was a tough time going back and forth. You know, parents carrying me over back into the intensive care unit, up there downstairs and back home, and it was trying to get this transplant right, the medication right, to be able to allow me to get home. So it was about a year there until they really got this transplant together, and the medication kind of sorted itself out, and I was leveling out a bit.
Yeah, that's right. And then you, as part of your rehab and getting your body back together and getting yourself back to a state that you can do stuff, like you had a trip to Melbourne as well. What was that about?
Yeah, so there was a bit of a period in there. I tried to get myself back together as good as I could, but it was tough. I had a lot of issues and things like that, and I went over to Germany. I met my donor, which was awesome. Came back, got pneumonia, into hospital again, and then, you know, probably about 9 months after that, I got diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia. Now that was described as the worst pain known to man. Described the pain. I was in the hospital for 3 months. It was like someone was burning the back of my eye while stabbing my face, with glass. You know, it was just horrendous pain, and I was screaming. Then this graft versus host disease that we talked about, you know, it just got out of control during that period in hospital again for 3 months. And so basically I got graft versus host disease scleroderma, which is basically gluing of the skin. You can see with the pigmentation going on my face and things like that. And my body was essentially gluing itself together. And if you've seen the Tin Man of Wizard of Oz before he got the oil can, that was me. I was just stuck and glued up, and this body the GVHD was really rejecting me. So they don't have the treatment really to help me with this GVHD. So I had to get sent over to Melbourne to get treatment over there. And it was called extracorporeal photopheresis within the Peter McCullum Cancer Centre. So I was over there initially for a 6-month period to try and get myself back together again. But over in Melbourne, it was a nice time. Things were going well. This GVHD was settling down, but unfortunately I had about a dozen heart attacks, which put me into the Royal Cardiac Melbourne unit, the cardiac unit up there. I was in there for about 24 days, and I had about 12 heart attacks up there. But finally they stented my left main artery. They couldn't make a decision of whether give me a heart bypass or stenting me. They weren't too sure what decision they'd make. So then this GVHD flared up again, and I had to get more intensive treatment and stay over there for a lot longer. So I was over there for a period of time of 5 years getting treatment, and then I'd be flying back and forth for a bit.
Bloody hell, Josh. I'm not sure if you saw this comment that popped up. Mark Boone, they build him tough on the coast, mate.
Is that Mark Boone, did you say?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's my cousin-in-law. He's a great guy. He's a fantastic man.
Not much more to sum it up other than that, eh?
Yeah, so that's in crux. The short of it, as quick as I can explain what happened in 10 years, and here I am now. You know, so
being worthy and not weak is a sort of comment, and it's something that you talk about a bit in your book. Tell us a bit more about that. That was part of the dealing with the treatment and dealing with the health setbacks and things that you went through?
Yeah. Just being worthy of my pain, to be honest, Rich. I mean, I didn't understand that we could go through such things, and now I do. So whatever comes in my life, that's a life experience, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. I've got people to talk to now. I've got tools to kind of mitigate these feelings, but I understand the pain that I'm going through. It's totally fine, because this is what life is. It's good and then it's bad, and I understand it. So I'm worthy of it. But if it gets too bad, I've got things that I can really fall back on now that really bring me back to knowing that, hey, it's going to be okay. Give yourself time, and it will be fine. This soon will too pass.
And what about the way that you see yourself? Like in the early days, you're an athlete. When you were fit, you were strong, you were good at what you did, and that was who you were. That was Josh. Obviously, that for no fault of your own has evolved over time as well, and that self-worth is so important to all of us. And it's in the media quite a lot at the moment, isn't it, in terms of that self-worth and then high-level athletes and being okay with maybe not winning. What would you say to that now, based on your experiences?
I think first we've got to understand that it's a privilege to be able to play sport and do the things we're doing, to be alive, because there's many people suffering in this world right now, and I know the people that be in that position that I was. I know there's still people there. First of all, if you can understand that perspective, that's the first thing. But the guy who was 10 years, 11 years ago, he was just a runner. He didn't see himself as Josh himself, the man who stood on this ground with his own 2 feet with confidence. He didn't see the values and beliefs that I had then. Now I do. Now I understand a lot of people go through hardship. If you go through hardship, it doesn't last forever, and it's part of life. And I've built myself a character, and I can stand on this earth with my own 2 feet, knowing who I am as a person, knowing what my values are. And whether I run fast or run slow, it really doesn't matter. As long as I'm turning up and trying my best to live an adequate for the day, then that's all I can do. And if I can go home in my bed knowing that I've tried my best for that day, whether I was running or not, whatever job I'm doing, if you're working at a cashier at the supermarket, then you've done a good job. If you know inside yourself, you smiled at someone, helped someone out, done something like that, stood on your own 2 feet with confidence, I think that's the main thing. Because the pain that people are in, it doesn't last forever. And I really want to emphasize that nothing lasts forever. Even the pain and torment that goes through your head, sometimes you don't want to talk to people, but understand this. There's things in life that are so precious and so joyful that we've really got to hold on to it. Now, my story can maybe help you in some way, but the moments in your life when you're really down and dark, it's those moments that fulfilled you, made you feel so good before, that you've really got to hold on to. Really hold on to, visualize it and feel it, that this soon will pass.
That's awesome advice. During your treatment, you discovered the benefits of an ice bath. I think it's something you still use on a regular basis to this day. What does that effect have on you? And my other key question to that, have you talked to anyone else into actually doing it with you as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've talked to a lot of people who do it quite regularly now.
Okay,
I do. I'm over in, I don't know if you've heard of O's Studio. I do a bit of a workshop with them over in Christchurch. Do a workshop over here. Got a few friends. I've got an ice bath here that a few friends come around on a Sunday to do an ice bath. But no, it's been a big part of my life. There was a moment in Melbourne when I first had one, and I was shitting myself. I was about a month out of having my stent in my heart, had a heart attack, and I was so scared. But I had a former AFL player, the former Australian kickboxing champion, and an owner of a prestigious gym, and they were all around me, big muscly men, and I'm skinny as, 57 kg, and I got in this ice bath. I'm breathing hard, but I got in there and I closed my eyes and I was just breathe through it slowly, and I became comfortable in this terrifying ice bath. Now I got out of that ice bath and I started running and I was smiling, and I hadn't felt so good in many, many years. The neurological change that shifted within my body from the release of norepinephrine was just incredible. And, I was running up and down the corridor. It was only 30 meters, and it was the first time I ran in so long, and I felt so good. And here I was in an ice bath and laughing away. And now it's part of my weekly routine. I do this, not to recover from a race. I don't This is to prepare my immune system. It's to prepare my neurological system, my cardiovascular system, and it's just to make me a healthy, all-rounded person, you know, to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that's why I practice it so regularly, you know, so I can breathe in slowly and know that I'm okay being uncomfortable in certain situations.
How often do you do it? How often do you jump in the ice bath?
Twice a week.
Brilliant. And is that ice bath ever the Tasman Sea, or is it always a bath full of ice?
It's a bath. It's a freezer full of ice. So I've got a chest freezer. I turn it on for 48 hours, accumulates a lot of ice, and then I turn it off. It kind of folds off the side of the freezer. Then I smash it up, and it stays like that for about a month. And then I do the process.
There we go, Kim. There's your homework for tomorrow. Yeah. Pleased you were the host of the show tonight, aren't you?
Wow. Guess what I'm going to go do? Yeah. Yep. Gosh, that's super inspiring, Josh. And I was just looking at your Instagram. I was stalking you. But you chose a quote earlier that said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Tell me why you chose that quote. What does it mean to you?
Friedrich Nietzsche. Yeah, amazing quote. Yeah. And Viktor Frankl also said that in Auschwitz. I mean, I had my why to live for my mother at that time when I was jumping off that balcony. Her love brought me back, and she was my why during that time. My why changed to be able to fulfill my running dream again. You know, there's always a purpose. There's always something that can change in your life that you choose, and it's your conscious choice to choose to pursue. And every time I was in a situation, I changed it, you know, because I can make a conscious choice in my mind to say, hey, I'm going to go in this direction, and I'm going to visualize it, I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to walk towards that way as slow as I can. You know, as slow as I can, but I'm walking forwards. But if you have that choice, you know, you can bear any why. You know, you can really bear it. And Viktor Frankl, he really summed that up in the Holocaust in Auschwitz. There, you know, his why was to be able to see his family again and spread something powerful that he'd suffered through, to be able to inspire other people through their own hardships. So that was my objective. It became when I knew I probably couldn't run again as fast as I could. You know, if I could share my story and understand, hey, I've been through this extreme situation. If someone can take a small snippet of that, then that's my why. That was my why. I'm going to go through whatever they give me, and I'll take it and I'll go through it. If I get through it, then someone else can go through what they're going through, because I understand that everyone goes through their own issues. You know, it doesn't have to be cancer. It could be anything. So it's not comparing my story, but it's just understanding that my story's gone through tough times. You will go through your tough times. You know, Rich will too. You know, it just goes like that. But if you can draw something and say, hey, Josh did that, you know, Louis Zamborini, Unbroken, I read his book, fantastic read. I can't be in his position, but I took something from it. He went through hell with the Japanese and prisoner of war camp. He got through it. The human body is capable of so much. And I'm a truly believer, if you put your mind to something, just something so small, walk towards it, you know, visualize it, pray with it, fight it, go with it, get through it. You'll be okay. And to be fair, you'll come out better off.
Oh, totally. That was, awesome. Just wondering if we have that quick 5, Richard. What do you think?
I think Josh, yep, absolutely. Do you want to lead off, Kim? What do you think?
Yeah, I've got it. What is your favorite sport to watch?
To watch, geez, I used to watch a lot of sports, but right now I was watching the Olympics. But I'm really following Malcolm Hicks and a lot of runners, and Paul Cole, Ruth Croft, a lot of close friends. Oh, not friends, but I really follow them. They're kind of the sports. I'm just watching friends who are competing in sport. You know, I used to be a big rugby league fan, but I probably haven't watched the game in about 18 months. But I'm just watching good friends do good things in their sporting career. So any sport really is, as long as someone close to me is doing it, you know, I'll go down and watch them.
Awesome. No longer a Warriors fan, is that what you're trying to say, Josh?
No, I'm a Broncos fan, mate. So they're not doing too well. So.
yeah, good stuff. That's probably fair. Let's just watch your friends. It's a good option. Favorite ice cream flavor, Josh? Have you got a favorite? Is ice cream on your menu?
Yeah, mate, it was Gold Rush. It's always been Gold Rush, you know, with the hokey chunks.
God, I think it's probably the best answer we've had so far.
I don't eat too much ice cream these days, Rich, but it's always been Gold Rush, mate. Yeah.
Good. Well done.
Do you have an ice cream in your ice bath? That's a good question. No. Fancy meal out or a home-cooked meal?
Jeepers. I cook a lot, Kim, so I do enjoy going out for a meal. I really do. I went to a very on our wedding night, we went to the Viaduct for a very nice meal. It's always nice going out to a elegant place for a really good meal. But I do cook a lot, so it's nice to have a break from the kitchen and go out to a good quality restaurant and have a good feed.
Fair enough.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Good job, Josh. What's your go-to breakfast?
Oh, I think Kim will laugh at this. It's liver with mustard, mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, and green tea.
How good you it's
Delicious.
definitely staying down the front foot, isn't it? It's honest.
Yeah.
Tasty. And the last question, favorite place to be?
With my wife, Sybil, to be fair. Being with her has just changed my life. You know, I'm married now, and being with her, wherever she is, you know, that's my favorite place to be honest. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a great answer. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And surely it's got to be sitting up on the hill over watching the sun go down over the Tasman Sea as well, doesn't it? In somewhere local.
Oh, it is, mate. It's very special. But you know, I can take the goodness out of anywhere I am in life. You know, I really can. You know, I've had some special places where I've got special moments. But being with my wife Sybil, she's truly something special that's really brought me back to this person who's talking to you today. You know, I talk about all these things that I'm doing, ice baths and that, but having that one special person who I can rely on, you know, she's so amazing. So that wherever I am with her, I'll be fine.
Beautiful.
How good. That's a great answer. Well done, Josh. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. We've had heaps of good comments and things coming through as you've been talking, which has been pretty awesome. So you've definitely inspired a lot of people out there, and lots of great things to say. So thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, and thanks for sharing.
Hey, no, thank you very much for getting me on, Rich. It's been a huge privilege. It's always a privilege and the opportunity to share my story, and it's very nice to meet you too, Kim. So have a good evening, team.
Same. Back at you.
Thank you again.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah, good job. Take care. Cheers, Josh.
Yeah.
Wow.
How good.
Just wow.
yeah. That's not much more to say than that, isn't it? It's cool, isn't it, just to put things into perspective about where we are and what we do with somebody that's been through such challenges. It just those little things that happen day to day. You're like, actually, what am I doing? Just have a moment to myself. Today, actually, when I was talking to catch up with a bunch of people on a regular basis, and I was talking to one person today, and she was saying, I sat down during my run today. I sat down. I just couldn't be bothered. Running wasn't going well, but it was an awesome day, and the birds were chirping, the sun was out, no one else was around, and I was like, you need to sit down. That's good. We need to sit down in our runs more, don't we? I think that needs to be a thing, and I guess Josh kind of sums that up, just to take whatever we are with wherever we're at right now and make the most of it. So here we go, Kim.
There's always a silver lining, and I'm inspired now. I'm going to go out and run to the letterbox and maybe sit down.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. But I'm also looking forward to catching up and hearing with Rhys, what Rhys has got to say for you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I talked about, Rhys sort of put me on to Josh and Josh's story and things like that. Rhys is a local in Greymouth, and Rhys was due to do Josh's run group that he runs on a Wednesday night. Should we get Rhys in and sort of just check in to see how he got on with that?
I reckon. Let's say hello to Rhys.
Rhys, you're a regular on the Wednesday run group. I heard that the boys were waiting for you tonight.
Yeah, I didn't actually show up tonight. I finished work a little late, and then ended up just going for a run on my own tonight. So
nice.
Probably owe Josh an apology there.
Yeah, still did some hill reps, still put some hurt in though.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Good, honest. That's good. So you ticked off the longest day coast to coast. You had the kids there at the finish line, cheering you on, taking your medal to school the next day, etc. It was a big thing, wasn't it? It was pretty cool to be able to help you out to achieve that goal.
Yeah, it was huge. It was just I didn't think that it would feel that good to cross the finish line. You know, it was just it's always been a goal, but when you actually achieve it, and my goal was to do it before I turned 30, and I was 2 days out from 30, you know, and then my kids were standing at the chute when I come around onto the sand, and my girlfriend's sister had them all ready to go, you know, so they just one each side, one each hand, and they just loved it, Yeah. So my youngest boy, went to preschool, playing it at preschool, and, you know, it's just, it's it's definitely made a big impression on them, so it's very cool.
That's super cool. And the thing is, like, it might have been a little bit past their bedtime, but not much past their bedtime. It was still daylight when you finished, which was good.
Yeah, dead right. My goal, I was actually talking to another local lad at the start line, and both of our goal was to get out of the kayak before that cut off to put a high vis top on. So that was 6 o'clock. I think he was about 5 minutes ahead of me. And so he got out about 5:45 and I was about 10 to 6. So I was absolutely stoked with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your background, Rhys, your work, family, sport, etc. Is this something you've always been involved in, running around, or is it actually quite new to you?
Pretty new, really. Growing up, I come from a family of 4 boys. It was a pretty full-on household. I'm actually an identical twin, so that was always good for a bit of fun. Right. So growing up was lots of fights and lots of that sort of thing around home. Mum definitely had her work cut out for her, that's for sure. Sort of played a lot of soccer and things like that going through school, but was never into running. I was a good runner, but just never had that drive or to bike or anything really. I did a lot of just biking. Nothing was really there's no point to it. I just did it because I could, and then sort of when I got to my early 20s was really when I just I just started running, and I was like, I just really liked it. Me and a mate, I was actually living in Christchurch at the time, and me and a mate just started doing some regular runs and bikes, and then between the two of us, we didn't actually tell anyone else, and he said, what are we actually doing? And I said, I don't really know. And he said, well, should we do the coast to coast? So we just both said, and just entered. So we both entered the 2-day coast to coast in 2016. So, and we put in a lot of work, and probably hindsight almost too much in some cases. Didn't do a lot of rest days, and didn't just listen to my body, and that's just so important. And it went all right. I finished it, and that was my main goal, but I didn't finish it like, feeling fantastic, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. You've got 2 young kids. How do you incorporate and your work, and you've got lots going on, how do you incorporate the kids into your sport?
It is sometimes it's tough, especially when it rains here the odd day. Not much, but we have to persevere with that. So if I go out for a run, generally they'll come on their bikes with me. So they'll bike beside me, and it's a lot of me pushing and them complaining, but generally they do enjoy it. It is good fun. If I can just get one of them, we can normally go a bit faster. So it's doable, that's for sure.
They don't enjoy the upwind, uphill, what are we doing here, Dad? They're more the downhill, wind behind them, rain at their back type scenario.
That is dead right. Yep, they know exactly where the hills are, and they're like, I don't want to go that way, So they're not silly.
It's good bit of extra training, pushing them up the hill. Have you got an epic training or racing fail to tell us about?
Yeah, I do really. It was actually the start of the 1-day coast this year. Lined up at the start line and was feeling really good. And then the gun went off, and I did a good run up to the first bike transition. Was going really well. Was quite up the front, and I was thinking this will be good. I'll get in a good bike group. Ran to my bike to put my shoes on, and I never wanted these shoes, but the ones that I originally ordered, just due to COVID, I couldn't get them. So ran to put my shoes on, spun my left foot out. I've got 2 little twisty things you tighten the shoe up. Spun my left ones up, and it was all good. And then spun the bottom one on my right up, and it was all good. But the top one had actually fallen off the holder. So I spun the whole thing up on itself on my shoe. So it was loose on my foot. And of course, being 6 o'clock in the morning, it was dark. So here I am at the start line, the first transition, trying to get my bike shoe, the elastic out so I could tighten it back up. So that was definitely my biggest fail. It was just, I was just watching people just disappearing, and I was like, oh no. But I managed to stay calm and actually ended up getting in a really good bike group. So yeah. It's
good. So meant that you didn't bike quite so hard and not quite so crazy, and able to run and probably set yourself up for a better day. Well done for staying calm and actually just sort of figuring it out bit by bit. Tough to do.
Right. It is, definitely was tough, but I think everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? And I got in that group, and I met some unbelievably good fellas in that group too. And it was quite funny watching a few guys, trying to be the hero and try to take off on their own, and you only takes 2 minutes and you're catching them again. How are you, mate? So it was really good. It was entertaining, so yeah.
Good. How's training going at the moment? How are you getting on? What's the goal for the summer ahead?
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit slow over the winter. I'm not much into coast winters, but just been doing a bit of indoor biking, and lockdown was pretty good. Managed to sort of get out every day for something, if it was a mountain bike or a run with the kids or a run or something. So that was good. Feeling pretty fit. So need to. Yeah, my coach is putting a bit of pressure on me to get out in my kayaks. So hopefully next weekend I'll hopefully get out there and start doing some regular paddling again.
Good. I look forward to that. I haven't done any paddling either, so don't worry about that. That'll be fine. Yeah. We'll get there together around about the same. Yeah. That's good. No, that's awesome, and exciting to work with you and see sort of what you can do this time around.
Yeah, did right. 14 hours, 20 minutes was my time in February, and I was really, really happy with that. But I do know there is places that I can improve, so I've just got to put that in, on the day. So, yeah.
Fantastic, Rhys. No, that's awesome. Kim?
I had a question. So you have an identical twin?
I do, yep.
Did you have any absolutely epic pranks that you played on people?
So many people ask that. Well, I mean, we are identical, but probably at the same time, if anyone knew us long enough, they would know the difference, So generally, we'd give them a crack at school and things like that, but very rarely did they pull off, Most people could figure it out. Yeah.
Fair enough. And is he into sport as well?
He is actually. Yeah, he lives in Perth in Western Australia, but he does a lot of. He does a bit of biking. He does quite a lot of they do like these big rides over there for cancer. So he's done quite a few 200Kers and stuff like that. Just works for a big company called Maida. So he does a lot of riding with them guys, and they put up some massive money and raise a lot of money. So it's really cool.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Nice work. Well done, Rhys. So just as a sort of finishing up, is there any, I guess, looking back over the last year or so that we've worked together, sort of a key learning, something to share for others to sort of take away from what you've picked up and learnt? That's useful for you going forward?
Definitely, yeah. There's a few, but the key ones for me is nutrition. Like you cannot put, eating. You're not putting too much in your mouth. I've literally been running over the Goat Pass with a guy I did a lot of training with, and me and him would both be eating. He's trained by Team CP as well, and we'd both be eating a lot. And the fella with us would say, "Oh, you guys eat a lot," and we were like, "Yeah." And then towards the end of the day, he's starting to fade off the back, and I was like, "That's exactly why we eat a lot, mate." So he was a good runner, but he just it's just so easy to think you've had enough, but
You're feeling good at that stage, but it's down the track, isn't it?
That's dead right. Yeah, I spent the money also and got a bike setup done by Anthony Chapman in Christchurch, and Brilliant. it was just unbelievable. Yeah, you think that you go to your local sports shop and they set you up on your bike and you bike out thinking, oh yeah, it feels really good, but yeah, it was definitely worth the money.
Completely next level, isn't it? Just the little tweaks he makes here and there and everything just to fit you exactly right based on your body and how your body moves.
Yeah, it's dead right. Yeah, he's an absolute magician. He's on that computer and he's very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, that's awesome, Rhys. Hey, thanks for sharing. Great to be able to share your story and keep doing what you do. Keep getting those kids out the door on those sort of even slightly marginal days, and look forward to cheering you across the finish line in New Brighton in 2022.
Yep. Thanks very much.
Well done. Cheers, Rhys.
Good as gold. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oops, Kim has clicked herself out and she's
Hi,
put herself back in the show. Rhys was just about to co-host there for a moment.
I reckon. But what a perfect segue, talking about nutrition and eating. Is actually one of my favorite hobbies. Besides lifting weights. Yes.
That's right. It is good, isn't it? I mean, that's part of the reason why we do this stuff is we can eat kind of whatever we like from time to time on these sort of adventures and missions.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? It's actually really handy to have a person that you can connect with and talk about nutrition who actually knows what they're talking about. And this next person is kind of a little close to my heart. She's my coast to coast training partner and teammate for last year and this year, hopefully. So, yeah.
Yeah, good. Cushla, are you back there? Kushla's going to talk to us about the pre-event meal and what we should eat beforehand before going into an event. Cushla, are you back there? Hit the button there, Kim.
Hey, that was quite an introduction.
That's right. How are you getting on, Cushla? What's the latest? What have you been up to?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm just ticking away and wanting to get into more training, but not so much quite at the moment. So just trying to be patient, but yeah.
Yes. You've got a bit of a niggly injury going on.
Yeah, very minor, but it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Just can't do too much. So just trying to be patient, which is hard. But
does that mean you have to do some biking?
Oh, yeah, I should be.
I just had that idea just then. Sorry about that to put you in it, but that would be a great idea, wouldn't it? Hopefully you might be able to get up and do some skiing. Does that also mean you've got some snow outside?
Yeah, I'm dying to go skiing. We had a good couple of centimetres here today, and then it was sunny later on. But yeah, the mountain will be stoked to have some fresh snow. So I'm dying to get up on Saturday morning and get back into it.
Yeah, good job. That's awesome. And that's the beauty of living in Methven. Just up the road is Mount Hutt. So good. So I want you to talk to us a bit about a pre-event meal. It's something that we can do well and not so well. It depends on our nerves. It depends on the time of the morning. It depends on what our event is, if we're biking or running or swimming or kayaking or whatever we're doing, how hard we're going, how long we're going for. There's lots of different, I guess, reasons why we need to sort of manipulate this a little bit. But have you got some guidelines for sort of carbs and proteins and fats that we should be aiming for in that pre-event meal?
So with the pre-event meal, that's really important because it basically tops up our tank of energy. It gives us some rapid-acting energy to help us focus and concentrate because our brain is a very heavy user of glucose. It stops us from feeling physically free. And depending on what we eat too, it can actually help calm our nerves or feeling a bit like you're having an unsettled stomach. So they're kind of the goals of why you would want pre-race nutrition. What's also really important is not so much your pre-race brekkie or meal, but it's actually the days beforehand as well, because that basically primes your tank. And then what you have on race day morning is like the little top up.
Okay. So does that mean carb loading, or does that just mean in a positive energy balance? What are you talking about there in terms of the days beforehand?
So
it's a different topic altogether.
The carb loading, it really depends on the event. And I feel like a lot of people, for kind of your typical maybe couple of hours worth, they overdo it a little bit. But for something like the longest day, then, hey, you actually really do need to think about the several days beforehand. But yeah, when you're leading up to a race, you are naturally going to taper. So you'll be burning less of your glycogen, which is our backup of glucose in our liver and our muscles. And you'll probably be eating a little bit more, or ideally the same sort of amount of carbs. So naturally you'll be filling up those little tanks we have readily available. And then by the time you get to race day morning, you basically just want to be topping up what your liver has used overnight to make sure that your tanks are full and you're ready to go and you're feeling good.
Yes, brilliant. So what does in terms of the carbohydrates, fats and proteins that we need in that pre-event meal, what does that look like in food?
Yeah. So again, anything can go depending on the person. Like some people love to have eggs on toast. Some people can only stomach a banana. So it really depends. But ideally what your pre-race meal should look like is it should be quite carbohydrate rich and unlike everyday nutrition, actually more refined carbs. So I'm saying like maybe white bread instead of grainy bread. So more rapid acting carb. You want moderate to low protein and ideally lower fat, and that's simply because protein and fat are more slow to get through our stomach and digest. And if food's sitting in our stomach for longer, then that can lead you to feeling a bit yuck, or like you're going to bring it back up when you start running or cycling or whatever. So that's just what your kind of meal should look like.
And a pre-event snack can be part as a wee insurance policy as well to that, can't it? Like, actually, I'm not sure if I want this, but I'll have it, and just in case, I might have half of a banana or a whole of it, or none of it at all.
Yeah, that's a personal preference thing. I often work with each person, and some people find, they might have something 2 hours before and they're fine. They don't need anything else. They'll just sip on some water. Other people have a really decent breakfast and then they like maybe, banana 15 minutes beforehand or a gel. It just depends on what they've done before and what they feel confident with. But yeah, ideally the timing wise, there's not any clear evidence to say 15 minutes is better than an hour and a half or whatever, but they have found that eating carbs 30 minutes beforehand is better than carbs 2 hours beforehand. So there you go.
I guess, that's right. And I guess and is that just in regards to blood sugar rise and sort of insulin secretion in your bodies? Is that sort of part of the kind of timing? We want a bit of energy coming in to a system when we start exercising.
Yeah. Well, they've just found that performance was better with that timing. So that's just, an interesting consideration. With that insulin and carbs, people do, or it has been talked about, the hypoglycemia when you get started with a race, if you have something carb rich in that sort of 30 minutes beforehand.
Okay, stop you there. Just stop you there for a second. So hypoglycemia, so that's low blood glucose at the start of a race. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified that. So it's when your blood sugar is going abnormally low. When you think about what insulin does, so insulin is a storage hormone, and it's one of the most important hormones in terms of regulating our metabolism. I like to basically call it's a little key. So when you eat food, particularly carb, it releases it. It comes from your pancreas and it goes around your body and it opens up and unlocks all your little cells in your liver, your muscles, and your fat tissue. And it allows the glucose to go from your bloodstream into those cells and then obviously be used. So obviously if you're doing that before a race and you're having something carb rich, people maybe thought that could be what then, pulls the glucose from your bloodstream and may, with exercise, pull your blood glucose down temporarily. But they have found that very few people actually experience that. And when they do, it didn't appear to be detrimental on their performance.
So that's that question of should I be having a gel on the start line because it actually might make a dip in my blood sugar because it all sucks up, and then but actually what they found, it's that classic sort of science thing is it's found once here and then it's become as folklore, but actually maybe it doesn't actually make a difference on a start line of an event that's going to take you 12 hours. Actually that's completely fine to do because the more energy that you can get in the merrier.
Definitely. And I loved how Rhys was just saying, you're running with people and they're hardly eating anything and they're commenting how much you're eating, and generally like 5-6 hours later you're way ahead of them because you've been eating as much as you should be. And I think people do underestimate just how much food you need in endurance sport.
And generally you can't ever have enough. It's just how do you digest it, how do you carry it, how do you actually digest it and chew it up.
Those are the sort of limiting factors.
But again, that just comes back to getting that pre-event meal really dialed in and nailed. So then you give yourself the best chance and the best start in the event. And as you've said before, you haven't said it so far this time, but I'm going to say it for you, is you need to practice this before your race so then you know what it's actually going to happen and know how it feels. And then also before an actual event, that's different with some nerves fluttering around opposed to breakfast on a normal kind of training day.
Definitely. And some people may, what they do every other day for breakfast, hey, that might actually work on their race day breakfast too, and that makes them feel good. That's fine if that works for them. But if you really suffer from managing nerves, then sometimes liquid energy and carbs can be a lot easier to stomach. So that's where something like a simple smoothie could be a really good option for those nerves.
Brilliant. So good. Can I ask you this? It's a personal preference thing, but what's your Cushla Jackson's go-to pre-race or running race meal?
For years and years it was protein oats. I loved having that before a race, but actually now I just cannot get past peanut butter on toast, and I'm such a smooth fix and fog peanut butter girl now.
There we go. Right, heard it here first. 1 or 2 pieces. How many pieces of toast are you going with?
2, and definitely a strong coffee. Yeah.
Okay, right. Get you going for the day.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Coach. Hey, anything else to add there, Kim, since you've jumped back in?
Well, I just like hi. I really find squirms a very adequate training treat, and come coast, I will be hoarding them. So and it's dietitian approved, I'd like to say.
Yeah, I love the swims.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Good to see you.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Well done, Kim. Pushing those buttons with ease now. Look at you go.
It's like magic. I'm good. My hands are all warmed up. I'm pushing stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Give me a highlight of the show tonight.
Oh man. I loved everybody else. Josh, you were just fantastic. Flip. I found myself like cheering you on. I was almost slightly crying in the background. I just like every emotion, but super just inspiring. And he has a quote that I want to read that says, "Embrace all that life has given me. I am healing, alive. I have love in my heart and the confidence to go forward. When you least expect it, if your heart and mind are open and willing, something good will fall into your lap. Embrace these moments that life gives us." And I think the reality is just that, embrace life. We've been in lockdown. That's not necessarily the end of our circumstances at the moment. Embrace that lockdown. And I think that was very inspiring for myself, just to, we're all going to go through tough times, but they are going to make you stronger as a result. So very inspiring hearing Josh's story. Yeah, 100% respect for that one.
Fantastic. No, exactly. Totally agree. Walk forward to the challenge and back yourself and give it your best shot. And as he mentioned, if you can lie there at the end of the day knowing that you've given it your best go at whatever it is, whatever you're doing, then that's all that you need to do. And you are you, and you're trying your best, and good. That's all that matters, whether you win or lose. It's as long as you've done your best crack at it. So yeah, big thanks to Josh, Rhys, and Cushla for sharing tonight. Super appreciative of sharing your time. Other things that are going on, that Coast to Coast Skills Day is coming up Thursday and Friday next week. So give us a whistle if you want to come along to that. And then also our group sessions. Jacob and his Thursday run group are about to get underway tomorrow night. So jump along to that. If you've never been before, sign up on the website so we know you're coming and we can manage numbers and things, and come along and join us. But tonight's show's brought to you by True Fleece Merino. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to, we've got a one of these, which I meant to say right at the start. If you're listening to this or watching this afterwards, we've got a True Fleece Merino beanie. There it is. It's even got Team CP on it. True Fleece Merino. We're going to give this away for somebody that's made a comment on the show about maybe something that I've learned, something they've got out of that, something they're going to share with others. So this fancy new True Fleece Merino beanie is yours. If you give us a comment, and we'll flick it out to you if you've made it all the way to the back end of the show.
Sounds good.
Good job. Well done. Thanks, team.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Hi guys, coming to